So ECE109, Social and Emotional Development. Thank you, Lita. We'll talk about Chapter 15 tonight, which is guiding social behaviors, a very important aspect of what we do as early childhood educators. First, let's go to our announcements for week 2. First of all, we've got several different videos in our course, and if you'll notice in My Course Connection, they're on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll notice links to these videos. Oh, there's Jasmine Miller as well. Yay! Jasmine, welcome. So be sure and just, hey, be sure and click that link to see your videos for the video responses. So I just want you to be aware they are on My Course Connection under week 2, under the section that says videos. I don't want you guys to ever be confused about where our content is located on our page. Next, I had brought up Career Fair. This is Thursday, April 14th, coming up pretty soon. And it's actually the last week of our class. And I want to offer a little something for you. So if you will come to Career Fair, I am going to give you a get out of homework free card. Hello, that you can use for any assignment except quizzes and the final exam. So it's kind of a bonus for coming along. In Career Fair, we are going to have several potential employers there for ECE. So this might be a great time to get your foot in the door to introduce yourself to them. So if you can come to Career Fair, April 14th, we'll be putting a flyer up about that pretty soon, in fact. Our Career Services team, Stephanie, who does career services for our department, will be talking about this next week as well. So that's just kind of a bonus there. To be able to skip one assignment, you get to pick which one. And then we also have open house coming up on Thursday, April 21st. So it's one Thursday and then the next Thursday. We basically have back-to-back Thursday opportunities with Career Fair and open house. Open house is Thursday the 21st. There's 2 different sessions from 9 to 11 a.m. and then from 6 to 8 p.m. You're welcome to come to either one. Here's the thing, you guys are already students at our college, so open house may not really be that exciting for you because you've already chosen your career. However, maybe you've got a friend that's interested in going back to school. This could be a great way for them to see some of our programs. So there's going to be demonstrations going on in some of the classrooms, some activities that you'll have some takeaways for, some free stuff. There's going to be live lectures, and admissions and financial aid will be there to help answer some questions. So it's a great opportunity. You might bring a friend if you have someone that's interested, okay? So April 14th is Career Fair. That's the one you can get your get out of free homework card for. And then, exactly. And then open house is Thursday, April 21st. So I want you guys to be all up to date on that. All right, here's our student question of the week. Very important thing because we have graduation coming up soon. The question was, are there important due dates for graduation? And the answer is yes, yes there are. The first one is actually, if I skip down here, let me get my pointer out. I used a little sunshine because it was a beautiful day. If you are graduating, cap and gown orders must be in by April 20th, so that's coming up pretty soon. Also, to be eligible to walk at commencement, I get asked this question quite a bit. You need to have finished all of your courses, including ECE courses, and if you're an associate's degree student, you need to have all your associate's classes done. You also need to be finished with externship. So you need to have all of your coursework done by August 7th. You'll notice that's after graduation. We only have graduation once a year, and so we extend the date for which you can walk. Now, if you're going to be completed with your degree after August 7th, then you'll need to wait for the following year if you'd like to walk. But I think they do, Sarah, actually, but I need to check and make sure. And this will be my first graduation to attend for community care college, so I'll need to check that out. And here's the thing, your cap and gown fee is already added into your tuition, so you don't have to pay extra money for it. You just wanted to tassel. I understand that too, Sarah. I understand. So you know what? I'm going to write that question down and ask them, so I'll know for sure, okay? Hey, Opal, how are you? Get you written down as well. I'm glad you guys were able to make it. You're fine? Well, good, good. That's right, Sarah. You won't be hopping down from Ohio. That's right. And, you know, Benita lives in Nebraska, but her mother still lives in the Tulsa area and will be graduating from CC as well. So she's going to be coming in and attending graduation. So that's kind of exciting, and even more exciting that they'll be able to walk across the stage too on the same night. So Lita, yours is April 6th. Yeah, you'll need to wait until the next year, Lita. However, you know, from talking about graduation, I want you guys to know that that doesn't mean that you have to wait till the next year before you get your diploma. You'll actually get your diploma in the mail about a few weeks after you've completed all your coursework. The graduation part is really just all about the cap and the gown and walking across the stage. Oh, April, I'm glad you're here too. Sarah, there's actually this link that I have written down up here, this collegesooner.com/graduation-guide. There are, all the information is there, as well as the link that you click on for the caps and gowns. So be sure and write that down, or I think I've also posted it on our Community Care ECE Facebook page as well, a link to this site. So I hope that makes sense. Did I get April written down? April, there you are. I want to get your point. So if you are walking across the stage, you need to have all your courses completed by April 7th or sooner of this year. And they'll actually be sending out an official later here pretty soon. Then if you are caps and gowns, must be ordered by April 20th, okay? There we go. I want that to be clear. And like I said, I'll be posting lots more about this on Facebook as well, and more links too. They said, you know, we need to put the information out every place that we can, make phone calls, make emails, because it's inevitable that almost every year, and there's signs up all over campus, but if you're not on campus, you're not going to be seeing those. So for those of you that are distance learning students, that's what you are. I want you all to know as well. Because they said almost every year they'll have somebody show up the night of the graduation and go, I didn't know, but I want to be able to walk. And I guess in the past they've been able to switch out caps and gowns and make it happen. So that's great. That was our student question of the week. Okay, let's take just a moment to brainstorm. I want you to think about this. Let me get my typing wand out here. You guys tell me, what behaviors do you like to see in young children waiting in line at a store. Think about it for me. What are some of the things you like to see? Young children waiting in line at the store. Of course, you think of Walmart right away, right? How do you like to see them act? Respectful. Good. Not touching items. Not screaming. Yeah, those are good ones. Not touching other people. Yeah. Strangers, right? That can happen sometimes. Not crying. Spinning the bag part. Oh, I've seen that before, and that's kind of dangerous too, Jasmine. Having patience, yeah. Not spinning the, I don't even know what to call that, the bag area. But you know how those little handles poke out and they're at about head level for a little kid. Yeah. Minding, so listening to their parents, right? Those are all good things, right? And I know you put not screaming, but I guess we could say quiet, right? The other end of that, listening to mom and dad. Okay, so you sort of have a visual of how you like to see the kids act, right? And then we have a visual of how we like to see, how we don't like to see the kids act as well. Now let's go on to the next slide, however. What behaviors do you expect in adults waiting in line at the store? So we talked about kids before, but now tell me, what do you like to see in adults? Quiet. Oh, same. Respectful. Yeah. Having patience. Polite. Having manners. Yeah. Giving space. That's interesting, Sarah. Yes, because some people can sometimes get a little too close, right? Be friendly. Yeah, that's a great beginning, a great list, and I'd like for you to look kind of at the picture that we have here. Those of you that are on a laptop can kind of see the different faces of the adults and maybe, you know, how they're feeling. Well, thinking about those two things, when you look at those two lists, what links are there between our expectations for our children and our expectations for adults? What did you think about our two lists there? And let me back up so we can review. The children, respectful, good, not touching items, not screaming, having patience, not crying, not spinning, minding. And for adults, it was quiet, respectful, patience. They were a lot the same, weren't they? Giving space, being friendly. So both lists were actually pretty similar. So sometimes we have to sit and think about that. Now, are there times when we see children doing the opposite of the things that we're wanting them to do on that list? And exactly, April. But sometimes we see adults do the same thing. Maybe they're too loud on their cell phone, or they're too close to you. Maybe having an inappropriate conversation with your children nearby. There's so many different things that can happen. And you know, the patience end of it, I think I see adults lose patience sometimes more than I see children. The kids are kind of having a good time in Walmart. There's lots of sights and sounds and smells and, you know, all those toys. That I'm not sure, Sarah. I will ask about that as well, though, okay? because I know they talked about pickup. That's okay, Sarah. You ask a question when you think of it. I completely agree. I will ask, okay, tassel and shipment. There. I'll see if I can find out tomorrow. So sometimes we have certain expectations of children that adults can't even make. So I guess we have to think about it, decide what they're socially capable of, what they're emotionally capable of. What I see the most of the time when I see a child in a store that's crying, that's having a horrible time, maybe they're having a little meltdown, it's almost always tied to one of two things. Either they're hungry or they're sleepy. And I see sleepy a lot, that maybe they've skipped nap time or the parents are shopping during nap time when the kid would really be resting. So I think it's important that we be respectful to the children and realize that they have to have their own schedule as well, right? I have a Facebook buddy who's having a horrible time with her kids right now. She has 5. She's not a single mom, but dad is away a lot. And they're having lots of behavior issues, and she's talked about how late they stay up at night, that her grade school son will be up till midnight on a school night. And I will guarantee you that if he were simply asleep at a better time, those behavior problems would probably be cut in half. So we really have to consider that. Oh, teenage has meltdowns in big crowds. You know, children are sensitive. That's right. And some are more sensitive than others. They don't like all the people. They don't like all the sounds. And it really just depends on the child. It may be something that they eventually grow out of. But if you know there's going to be crowds, it might be like, yeah, let's not go to that. Maybe let's pick something else instead, right? It's interesting that you brought that up because we are going to talk about some of those things tonight. If we look at misbehavior in particular, and every parent, every caregiver, every early childhood educator will encounter this. Draker's list of underlying goals for misbehavior is almost always attention. The children are needing attention. Power struggle. They sometimes feel that they are more powerful than the parent. That might be revenge, could be brother or sister, mom or dad, and this we see in older children, or some other type of inadequacy. And like I mentioned, sleep, food can have major behavior triggers. Your son is better when he gets his rest. Exactly, Lita, exactly, because it's really needed. Yeah. So one cannot change a child's misbehavior without analyzing and understanding the goal that motivates the behavior. And this one we have to step back as a parent and maybe take off the parenting hat for a minute and critically think about, okay, what's causing this? Like you mentioned, you know, with your daughter, big crowds, and Lita, so your son's better when he's gotten his rest, when he's gotten his nap, right? So that's one step closer to understanding it, is realizing what the triggers are. That's great. Guiding social behaviors. Gordon teaches effectiveness training in guiding, and we use this quite a bit in ECE. Oh, and what was it, April? People are quick to judge and assume that it's either bad parenting or a bad child, and a lot of time it's neither. It's inconsistency and something being off. That's true, April. We can't control everything. You know, our children can't be 100% good all the time. And I think it's easier as a parent to understand, too, what another parent's going through. Once you've walked that mile before, you really understand. It helps you. So Gordon's teaching focuses on active listening, really listening to the child, not just nodding your head, not just halfway listening, using I messages and using you messages. So here's a few examples. I really like the way you helped Susie pick up her blocks. That's using an iMessage and a UN in the middle. You have been a great helper today. So it's really personalizing what you're saying to the child, not just to the whole class, because we need to really focus on them. Here's a few more examples of iMessage starters. And working in a daycare center, working in a preschool, you have to train yourself to use these. We have to speak a little differently. So using the term I want, I feel, I would appreciate, I need, I expect, makes these statements much more personal. I guess I misheard. Please, and in that statement you're saying, you know, that was my mistake, I misheard. And children need to understand that sometimes parents make mistakes as well. I would like it very much if, so it's about being nice, it's about being consistent, but also really speaking to that child using our iMessages. What can adults do? Adults identify which behaviors are acceptable and which are not. So all of you will have your own little list as a parent, and you will have your own list as a daycare provider. You will have the rules that the children need to follow. When problems arise, examine the situation and decide who owns the problem. So was it caused by the child or was it caused by the caregiver? Is it something in the environment, or is it something that maybe happened with another child? Again, we sit down and we critically think about these things. And we decide which are worthy of attention. Basically, it's like picking your battles. Is this really something that we need to focus on, or is this something that we might be able to move on through? So what is the difference between guidance and discipline? You guys tell me. It's pretty evident in that terminology, but we don't think about it very often. No one is perfect. That's right, Lita. That's right. What is the difference between guidance and discipline? Redirecting. Okay, so redirecting would be an example of what? Would that be guidance or discipline? Guidance, exactly. Exactly, and redirecting is a great thing to be able to learn how to do. You got it. That's right, Jasmine, yeah. So redirecting would definitely be a guidance. Now, how is discipline different from that, though? So in guidance, we might be, we have rules that we follow. We're giving them iMessages or U messages telling them what's appropriate. Going into a restaurant, I have to put my laptop for a minute. Okay, Brittany. I forget that you're out on a date. Okay, so somebody give me an example of discipline. What would be considered discipline? Taking away a privilege, yes, April. And you know, that's probably the major one that I use with my kids because they're teenagers. We do a lot with privileges. Time out, that's right, Bailey. Although, you know, some people have mixed feelings about timeout. I agree. I agree. And some people consider timeout as basically ignoring. We're taking a step towards changing the behavior, but then we're also stepping away from it for a minute. Yeah. And some people have special timeout chairs or areas as well. Yeah. Some children it does not work with, or corner, that's right, Lita. But some children it can be very effective depending on how it's used. That's right. It depends on the child. I was a sensitive child. All it took was raising your voice at me and I was in tears. So that you guys may connect with that. You may have been the same way. However, some children can be screamed and yelled at and not fazed at all. That was your twins. Oh, snapping. They didn't like snapping, huh, Bailey? That's funny. It's sort of a trick to find out what the secret thing is. Yes, exactly, April. Your son loves his Xbox. Well, my son loves using the computer and going online, so that's his first thing to lose if he's having issues. Like I said, my kids are teenagers. My daughter, loves her cell phone, so that will be the first thing to go as well. When they were younger, it was computer time for my son still. He's been a big computer fan, but it was TV time for my daughter. So it's that extra privilege that when they lose that, it hurts. Yeah. His cars, yes, Lita, exactly. So if you're behaving correctly, you get to keep those cars that you love. Yeah, I agree. So you guys get the idea. Guidance. Oh, taking away the trampoline in the TV. Yes, double whammy, right, Tina? Yeah. Now, something that we run into in public schools, and I'm really not sure how to handle this, but I've seen it happen several times with hyperactive children, that if they're bad, they lose PE time or recess time. And I know, I understand the idea behind it, but these children that are hyperactive and have lots of energy actually need to be able to get that energy out, and they need to be able to run around. And if they are allowed that time, then after that's over, they're going to behave better. So you kind of have to think about that. So if they're allowed to burn off that extra energy, we may be much better after that's over. But if they're having to sit there for the whole recess, the negative behavior may continue. So we have to take it each time, child by child, right? But you guys get the idea. Guidance. We're asking them what to do. We're showing them the rules. We're trying to redirect them. We're trying to, we're modeling the things that we want them to do. But with discipline, it's actually a reaction to a negative behavior. So our goal is to stop that negative behavior before it starts, basically, to try to get rid of it. Oh, and going over to a friend's house, that's right. Your daughter class has a ball chair for the adults who can't sit still, and the teacher says it works wonders. It does, Tina. I have seen this work before. And in fact, several people that I work with have the ball chairs as well. It helps them with their posture, but also to be able to move around instead of just sitting still. Those are fantastic things. They're great for children that don't do well with sitting for long periods of time. That's right. I love those. Okay, here's some positive guidance techniques. Positive reinforcement, and we try not to focus on candy. That's one that we can give as a treat every once in a while, but you don't want every good behavior to be reinforced with candy. There are other things. There's other activities they want to do. In ECE, it might be an extended recess. Hey, you're going to get 5 extra minutes, you know, or other things. Time with the teacher. Get to eat lunch with the teacher. They love that. The little ones do. Giving them extra attention is definitely a technique. And an example on attention is sometimes simply standing beside them. Maybe they're in a learning center getting ready to get in trouble, but you need to go over and just stand by them to help them defuse. Or maybe we're dealing with a first grader at a desk, and as a teacher, a guidance technique is to go stand by them by their desk. Don't say anything, just stand there. Also, ignoring the behavior. If it's not critical, sometimes we can just ignore it. An example, and this is hard to do, is sometimes temper tantrums. They're wanting to get a reaction from you, but if you do not give that reaction, sometimes that will defuse it right away. Time out is listed here. preventing the behavior in the first place. Example, not going out when they're tired, when it's nap time. Preventing by not going into the loud areas like Tina talked about earlier. Redirecting, discussing it, really talking about it, and doing some problem solving. Sometimes you could have a child with a behavior issue in your class. You're stumped on that situation, but speaking to a fellow teacher can help solve that. Maybe they ran into a child that was a lot like this one before, and they can pass on those words of wisdom. Next, what approach to guidance should you use? Well, you may want to develop your own eclectic approach. That's the thing. There's not one technique that's 100%. It's going to change class by class, and it may change a little bit child to child. So you think about your values and your expectations of the classroom, and remember to keep these expectations realistic for the age range and for the children that you're working with. Think about the philosophy of the program in which you work. Consider your aims and the expectations of the families with who your children work. So you're thinking about the whole picture when it comes down to positive guidance. Not just the classroom, but extending out into the family as well. So why is it important to understand the reasons for a child's misbehaviors? You tell me. We've talked about a little bit of this. Why is it important to understand the reasons for a child's misbehaviors? Let me see if I can make my print a little bit larger here. There we go. Oh, I thought somebody was getting ready to type. I think the bubble went away. There we go. Lita's got something. Why is it important to understand the reasons for child misbehaviors? Oh, April does too. Seeing those thought bubbles come up on the side of my course connection and Blackboard, it's like seeing a student raise their hand in class. That's great. Oh, and Jasmine too. Wonderful. To help prevent it, that's right. To help prevent the behavior or help alter the behavior, that's right. And Jasmine, so you can explain to the child what they're doing wrong and how to correct it. I like what you said there, Jasmine. Yeah, you know, sometimes the child doesn't even realize why they're doing a certain thing. So it's good to be able to explain it to them using words that they'll understand, and yeah, speak to them as if they are an adult so that they can kind of think about it. That's right. Good job. So we want to prevent the behaviors. We want to alter the behaviors because it's not inevitable that the temper tantrum is going to happen. Sometimes we can step in and get that to stop, or maybe we're getting ready to have an argument between two children. Sometimes we can stop that in time as well. Yeah, that's definitely one of our goals. What else? And Lita, are you typing? She's either typing a really big story. You got to go put the kids to bed. That's okay, April. We're almost done. You have a good night. I'm glad you could make it. Yes, Lita, exactly. To stop it. Stop the behavior before it happens. Yep. That's great. So we don't want to just react to a behavior, because that's sometimes what our gut instinct is to do, is to react to the behavior. And we want to take a moment, we want to think about it, we want to try to figure out what's causing it, and then what we can do to stop it. So it's definitely a thought process. We may be really quick with our own children because we know them well, and we know what their reactions might be, but when we're dealing with other people's children that we're not around as much, sometimes we really have to take some time to figure that out and go through this consciously, going through the process. I think this is one of our last slides. In fact, we're talking about now aggressive children, and you guys may have ran into this before or may not. Aggression in a daycare situation, or maybe in a preschool situation, even in public school, should never be acceptable. This is something that we cannot ignore, not just professionally but legally as well. Prevention through vigilance is important. That means keeping an eye on things. So many things happen, accidents happen when the children are left for just a moment. Maybe that's when the fight breaks out, or maybe that's when an injury occurs. It's very important for the teacher to always be in the classroom, and if they're not there, somebody else is in there keeping an eye on things. So we're watching for these behaviors. Work on acceptable behaviors all the time, not just when an issue comes up, because sometimes you can talk about them and discuss it before it even happens. A great example would be bullying, that this is something that we need to constantly teach, reinforce that this is a negative thing, and talk about positive behaviors instead, or what to do situations as well. So we provide children with positive attention. We minimize environmental factors that may contribute to aggression, and sometimes this does coming down to knowing the individual child well. So aggression is hard to deal with. It's difficult, but it definitely is possible. And again, this is something that may require, oh, your laptop froze. I was wondering, Brittany, I saw you go kind of in and out, and there's Tina again too. Hey guys, I wanted to pass this along. I had to go to a webinar last week, and it was really interesting. I'm going to share with you some of the content of the webinar maybe next week. But I was having problems losing sound in the webinar. I could see their PowerPoint, but I could not hear the speakers. And something that helped me, I've never ran into that before, something that helped me was to hit the refresh button on my laptop. I joined, I'm not sure who I is. Is that you, Lita? Or L? Maybe that's Lita. So that's something that you might try with Blackboard if you're having issues. You might try refreshing it to see if that would cause, help sort some issues out. I know how frustrating it can be. During There we go. Can you hear me, guys? That's the first time I've ever been kicked out during a lecture as well. That was really strange. It looks like I was able to connect again. Hi, Brittany. Hi, Jasmine. Well, hey, the good news is we are down to our final slide. So I don't know what's causing the issues, but guys, with all the storms that came through last night, we could definitely have some dishes down, maybe causing some problems. I'm sure we have some internet wires down as well. So I apologize for all that freezing up at the end. Right now, let me see, I wound up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. For those of you that were able to get back on, do you have any questions? And Jessica, you're back as well. I'm sorry for the problems tonight. We were just talking about them. I think it could be storm related from last night as well. We normally don't have this many people having to go out and then come back in, and I was kicked off for the first time too. I've never had that happen. You thought it was just you, Lena? I know, I hate that feeling. So if you guys don't have any more questions, I think we'll go ahead and end for the night. Please be sure and send me an email if you think of something. Okay, have a great night, Jasmine. Good night, Brittany. Good night, Jasmine Miller. Good night, Jessica. You guys have a great night. Bye, Tina. You too. You too. Thanks, Lita. I'm glad you were able to get signed back in. Even if it just says L, it's like we have your initial, right? Have a good night.